Devam Kangshachanuramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnang Bande Jagadgurum. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We salute Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of the demons, Kamsa and Chanura, and the dear darling of the mother Devaki, and the leader of the world. We salute him again and again. Om, peace, peace, peace. So we are reading the book 2, chapter 2, and we'll start today from 35 verse. So we are reading how the yogi will be living the last breath and will go and from plane to plane and then attain to the plane of freedom. So we read last time they will dissolve their senses. A yogi who has attained a state of higher plane, the highest state of Brahmanda, goes beyond the described, all categories evolved from the Prakriti, which has come out for the 24 cosmic principles. These cells and the yogis pass from grosser to the subtler, to the level and identification with it, and then Linga Sarira attains oneness with the Prithvi, the earth element, and from that it goes to the finer element, earth, water element, and from that it goes to the fire element, to air element, ultimately to the space element, which is the symbol of all pervading Brahman. Then how the yogi transcends the subtle aspects of elements, out of which are formed the objects of the senses, are stated now. The senses of smell, he dissolves in the subtle element. That means everything is withdrawing from the gross to the subtle, to the subtle, to the subtle. And dissolving in Prakriti, he becomes closed with bliss. Like that he goes ultimately to that 24 cosmic principles. The root of that is the Prakriti, Purusha plus Prakriti. Purusha plus Prakriti. Prakriti has 24 principles. He goes back to the Prakriti.
This is like when he dies?
So yogi can control, let it not, mind don't go out, so withdrawing everything from withdrawing, and to come to the last, to the Prakriti. To dissolve in Prakriti, he becomes clothed, and that is, next is the bliss, no? Purusha. Prakriti plus Purusha, no? So this Prakriti is very close to Purusha, the consciousness. It is individual, it's according to Sankhya philosophy we are talking, not according to Vedanta. So Sankhya philosophy, the individual soul withdrawing, because each soul yogi, he dies and he senses control, the prana, vayu, they control, so that it does not go to the lower channel, not to the mouth channel, etc., till the Brahmananda. So that we read. From there he withdraws, he goes to the subtle element, the gross element is there, then with the earth element, water element, fire element, this, that. Panchabhuta. And then goes to the ultimate, the Prakriti, the root. And then dissolved in Prakriti, he becomes clothed with bliss, because there beyond is this Purusha of the Sankhya. And then abandoning all adjuncts, he becomes one in nature with the self, which is utter peace and bliss. So almost he becomes very peaceful there, being in the contact with the Purusha, encircled by Purusha. Oh dear one, he who goes along the path leading to the Lord never returns to the lower plane. If he goes on this way, and reaches there, after reaching there, they don't come back. They move on. That's why in the Gita, Bhagavad Gita, it says that the path of light moves on and on and on, and from there they don't return. That means it's an onward journey, still continues. So, O king, these are the two paths of spiritual progress, eternal, spoken in the Vedas, of which you want to know. The first is the path of immediate salvation, and the other is the gradual salvation. It is called the Jivan Mukti, another is called Krama Mukti. Krama means in kram, in sequence, step by step, step by step. These are the two paths. Bhagavan Vasudeva himself revealed this knowledge to Brahma, who worshipped him with great devotion in ancient times. And this knowledge was given by Bhagavan Narayana, Vishnu, to Brahma. And Brahma, who was worshipping Narayana with great devotion. There is no other path, spiritual fulfillment, so easy and safe for being caught up in the samsara as the path of devotion to the world. So there are yogic path, this path, that path, but this is the teaching given by Bhagavan Narayana. Then that is, what is that? Bhakti, devotion. There is no easy path, easier path than that of bhakti. That is the message of the Bhagavat. All are there, but bhakti, love, unconditional love for God, is the easiest way to reach Him, to go out of the samsara. For Brahma himself impartially scrutinized the Vedas thrice with deep concentration, and the conclusion he arrived was that the most efficient means of spiritual evolution is what generates intense devotion to Sri Hari. Even in the Brahma, who is the creator, he studied the Vedas, and intensely 3 times he went through all the Vedas, and he came to the conclusion, easiest way is to love God, to be devoted to God. So today here we start from verse 35. This is the previous reading. So 35 verses, from the workings of the inherently inert entities like the buddhi, the senses, etc., in an intelligent and purposive way, and from such other aid useful for inference, it can be seen that Sri Hari dwells as the indwelling spirit and witnessing in all beings. So, from the workings, my buddhi is working, no? My mind is working. From these workings of inherent entities like buddhi, beyond the eyes, ears, buddhi, intellect is very inherent inside, the senses, etc., in an intelligent and purposive way, from such other aids useful for inference, it can be seen. By inferring, we can see that Sri Hari dwells, God dwells, indwelling spirit as witness. So, this is the point. This eye is seeing, in Vedantic way, who sees the eyes, you don't see. So, who sees like that? So, go to the mind, mind does not see. Who sees mind? Mind is by the buddhi, buddhi is by the ego, ego is by the Atman, the light of the Atman. So it is the self that is the point. So, Hari, and that is named in the devotional text as Hari, the Lord. We call Ramakrishna. It is called Krishna. It is called Rama in the devotional term. Therefore, O king, man should always hear about what? Praise and remember the all-perfected Sri Hari in all context, in all seriousness, and with deep attention. So what should be our major purpose of life? We should, it is said that one should be always here in the ear, what? About the praise of the Lord. And always what we should do? Remember the all-perfect Lord Hari, Krishna, Narayana, to hear about him, to remember about his auspicious, glorious life and deeds in the context of seriousness and deep, with all seriousness and deep attention. Deep concentration, deep attention, one should do this. Whoever imbibe the nectar of divine excellence, filling the cup of their ears with that immortal drink, it is poetic way of saying, Whoever imbibe the nectar of divine excellence, when it's in the Bhagavatam as we are reading now, and filling the cup of their ears, it is like a cup, no? You are filling with water, you are with the stories of the divine sport of Bhagavan Krishna, Narayana, who fills their ear with this type of thought, not with rubbish thoughts. Rubbish, worldly, nasty, mundane talks. Remember, all perfect, filling up the cup of their ears with that immortal drink, they verily will have their hearts purified of all the impurities. If they fill up their ear day and night with the holy life, holy sports of the Lord, think of Him, remember Him constantly, their hearts will be purified of all impurities with which the contacts of the sensuous life have been poisoned them. They are all poisoned, all colored, all covered by the impermanent thoughts and ideas of the world and worldliness. They will be counteracting with the thought of God. When you are hearing, that means don't hear anything but God. So if one does that very sincerely, they verily will attain to His lotus feet. So this is the chapter ends here, second chapter, which says that that means love to God is the easiest path, rather than making so much of philosophical inquiries, and filling your ear with the holy message of the Lord, holy glories of the Lord, His life, His pastime. So if you hear Krishna's story, Krishna's life, that we call Ramakrishna's life, Ramakrishna's childhood, Ramakrishna's play in Dakshineshwar, Ramakrishna's play in the Kashipur garden house, or in Calcutta, wherever he is going, no? If you can keep your mind always, or ear always charged with this type of pouring information, so that will purify all the senses, mind and intellect, that will be purified. Purified from what? Which is being polluted by the poison of world and worldliness. So this is the conclusion of the second chapter, that devotion is the best and easiest path for spiritual experience and life. Now the third chapter starts here, second book, third chapter. There is a devotion, two types. We love God with motive, without any motive. I love you only for love's sake. I don't want anything. Oh Lord, only give me devotion. That's my prayer. I don't want anything from you, but only you. That is called the unmotivated. And the other is the motive. I pray to you, oh Lord, please do this for me. Please, I ask this favor from you. Please help me with this. No? When we do, these are called with motive. The devotion without motive and with motive. That is the discussion now. Chapter 3. So it says the Supreme Being alone is worshipped through all deities. No? This is See Shuka Dev is again saying, I have been answering your question, what is it that thoughtful men, especially those who are approaching death, should bestow their serious attention upon? So the question was made by Parikshit that what is that thoughtful mind, a thinking mind, a person who is really a person of intuitive spirit. What he will ask, especially those who are approaching death, particularly when death is approaching, when we are getting close to death, what should bestow their serious attention? Where should we focus our attention? Ramakrishna said in the Gospel, no? When even he is going to die within few minutes, he is looking at the oil lamp in those days. He used to say, hey, reduce the wick, too much oil. Yeah. Are you now not to think of the oil? Your son, grandson, granddaughter, they will think about those things. Your time is now for to be focused on God. But that does not happen. That's why at the point of death, what should be a thoughtful person think while when the death is approaching?
But if that person thinking that way, God's oil is getting misused.
God's oil, then there is God then. If the God is there, there is no problem. Then he is saved. They say, now Ramakrishna said, oh, what will happen to them when I die? If they are wasteful like this, how they will survive? They will be in utmost poverty. So he is saying that if they don't be careful about wasting things like that. That's also love. But that is not the time to think about others because you are now living. You will have no power to do anything in the world. How much you want to protect the world, even what we do when we are able to do. What is our power? How much good we can do to anyone, to your son, to your daughter. You think that will be good, this is good. Can you do anything? There's nothing we can do. So it says, one who desires to have the luster of Vedic learning should adore Brahma, from whom the Vedas have come. Those who seek power of the senses should worship the Indra, and those who desire progeny, the Prajapatis. The seeker of wealth should worship Sridevi, of brilliance, the deity of Agni. Brilliance, the deity of Agni, of wealth, the Vasus, and of powers, the Rudras. The seeker of foodstuffs should worship Aditi, of heaven, the 12 Adityas, of kingdom, the Vishwadevas, and of popularity, the Saddhayas. The seeker of longevity should worship the Ashini Devas, of strength of body, the Bhumi Devi, and of security, Dio, and Bhumi, who are parents of the worlds. The seekers of beauty should worship Gandharvas, of women, the Apsaras, like Urvasi, and of sovereignty over all, Brahma, the Lord of the worlds. The seekers of fame should worship Vishnu, of the immense wealth, Varuna, immense. If you want immense wealth, then you worship Varuna. Or learning, Parameshwara, and of happy conjugal life, Uma. The seeker of dharma should worship Vishnu as Uttama Sloka, and of increase of progeny, the Pitris, of security from possession of ghosts, Jakshasha, and strength in physical state, Marutas. The seeker of kingdom should worship Manus and the Devas, of destruction of enemies by black magic, the Rakshasa, Niriti, and of sexual satisfaction, Soma. But those who have no desire worship the Supreme Being who transcends nature. So he has given, that's the Hindu gods and goddesses, very democratic. All gods and goddesses are appointed, their gods. You can approach them and your desire will be fulfilled. But if you want devotion, then you have to go to transcend all the nature, because nothing is satisfying. These are all temporary gain. So we have given the list, big list of our human desires and how we can satisfy them. No?
Maharaj, this worship is yajna, not puja, right? These are Vedic.
In Vedic yajna, that's why so many mantras are there for all these gods and goddesses. Yajna also, the fire only carries your wish and oblation to the deity. You know? You take a medicine, what happens? When it goes to your system, all the, what are there? All the hungry bacteria or cells or whatever, they come, and out of the medicine which they are hungry for, that type of cells, they go, cells or what you call, I do not know, they take that medicine. That other is how the medicine gets assimilated into our system and improves our deficiencies. Vitamin D, C, we call about. So, in the blood, all are there. But who will take what? So like that, human mind has infinite number of desires. Like, if you want to desire, have the luster of Vedic learning, you have to be bright with the learning, Vedic wisdom and learning, then you should have the adored Brahma, from whom the Vedas have come out. All the Vedas have, Brahma expressed all these three Vedas. So, through the three mouth, it says. So, you worship Brahma, then you get the Vedic wisdom in your own expression. People will look at you and say, oh my God, he is a scholar, Vedic scholar, great Vedic scholar. So those who seek power for the senses, senses means all the senses, the power of the eyes, ears, etc. So you worship the Indra, God Indra. Those who desire progeny, children and others, they should worship Prajapati. So this type of system was there in ancient time. That's why Hindus have so many gods and goddesses, because you need not have to go to the boss for asking for 1 penny. We used to give simple example, now it is more detailed example. We say you need money, you go to Mother Lakshmi. No? Mother Lakshmi, this is me, and we do the puja, and Mother will give some material prosperity and things. No? You want learning, you go to Mother Saraswati, and so Ma Saraswati, you give it. But if you want mukti, Mother Saraswati cannot give mukti, because she is normally empowered with the power of giving the wisdom, knowledge. But if you think that she is Brahman, then you can realize everything. But you think that Ma Saraswati, only the Saraswati, goddess of learning. So you want to learn something, art, music, and all these talents, you worship. That's why you worship Ma Saraswati for knowledge of the. Then the seeker of wealth, you want money, wealth. So you worship Sri Devi, Lakshmi. Sri Devi means Lakshmi. Of brilliance, like the fire has a brilliance, you want to have such brilliant look and things, then you go to worship the Agni Devata. Of wealth, you go to the Basus, Ashtabasus. Like that, we have read that. So many gods and goddesses God has created as an empowered them to do all his work, so that he need not have to bother about all this. Big boss only talks about big things. Say we want 1,000, 2,000, 10,000, the lower officer can take care. But that officer is empowered by the boss. It is not his power. He has no power for money to give anything. But Narayana, the Lord, has distributed the power like this. It is his power only. Through all this, his power is getting manifested. So this is the way. So they have given so many names. If we count how many, maybe 20 or 25 names we found, no? Of the gods and goddesses who can meet our needs, our necessities, worldly necessities. Someone is asking for brilliance, someone for wealth, someone for beauty, someone for progeny, someone for the Vedic wisdom. All this you can worship. But lastly, it is said, but those who have no desires, I don't want anything. So why you will go to other gods and goddesses? If you don't need, why will you go to other? You go to the grocery shop. When you need something to cook. If you feel it is not your need, then why will you go to that shop? Now we have what is called a big shopping mall. In one place you can get everything, no? But if you don't need anything, why shall you go there? That's why those who have no desires, they worship then akamo sarvakamo va moksakamo udarudhi tibreno bhakti yogeno jajita purusham param. Beautiful. Akama, that person who has no kamana, no desire. Sarva kamova, but you can say he has all desires in one place. What is called the moksha kama, liberation. Udarodhi, they are very broad-minded. Tibreno bhakti yogeno, they concentrate all their attention and love for God, for mukti, for liberation. All these energies which others are searching for, going there, going here. But this real, genuine bhakta, he will understand these are all, even if I get it, will go away. So he concentrates his whole energy and channelizes it towards bhakti, towards devotion. So the one being to be adored with intense devotion by all, what is that? Whether they be devoid of all desires, either maybe they have no other desires, or whether they be desirous of all enjoyment. You will get God, then you get everything. Either you say, I don't want anything of these petty things, I want you, and then, or you get God, who is the source of all. So if you get God, then you get everything. Or whether they may be seekers of liberation, is the supreme person, the one God of all. That means God, ultimately, those who love God, they get everything. Because they give up all these petty things first. But when he reaches God, he gets everything. The whole world becomes his. That's why the Vedanta path is also same. Bhakti path is also same. First Vedanta says not this. Don't get attached to these sense objects. Don't get attached to your mental inclination. No, not this, not this, not this. Everything is annihilated. And then what is? I am that, no? When you reach I am that, then what happens? Aham Brahmasmi. When you become one with the Brahman, you lack nothing. Everything, you are that Brahman. So what do you miss? So, swakamo, sarvakamo va. Beautiful word. Either you don't desire anything, because all these deities just in the bhakti path, by propitiating them, they will be kind enough to give us the grace, so that our worldly prosperity, worldly name, worldly power, popularity, all these will come. But one understands this will go away. So with the same effort, if I can give up everything and run for the Narayana, the Bhagavan, then I will get everything. Verse number 10. In other words, all the deities mentioned above are nothing but his manifestation, Narayana's manifestation. And all their powers stem from him, the Lord. So a man of intelligence worships the Supreme Being alone through all the deities. Man of intelligence knows Mother Lakshmi is not separate from Mother Durga, or Mother Agni Devi is not, Agni Devata is not separate from me. They are all Brahman. With this knowledge, if they want to worship Lakshmi, they worship Lakshmi as Brahman. Other people will be worshipping as Lakshmi only can give wealth. But through the Lakshmi, for desiring there, if they really understand the real nature of Sassarupa, of any god or goddess, real Sarupa is the energy, the power, is from Brahman. Kena Upanishad? Kena Upanishad says that the gods and goddesses were sitting together and they were all talking about the glory, how they killed, destroyed the demons. And then everyone was taking the pride. What? Agni Devata, the fire god, says, oh, what did I do, you know? I burnt everything to ashes. And the wind god says, do you know what I do? I blasted everything in a split second. So everyone is talking about their own glory. Water, god of water, I flooded everything. And torrential tsunami I created. And all smashed into a split second. And then suddenly when they are talking about their own glories, then there appeared one divine form which is neither looks like a man, nor looks like a god or goddess or demon or asura, nothing. So they could not recognize and said, then Indra, the god of all the gods, he said, hey, god of wind, you go and check on who is this incognito person standing here. And then he went with all pride, I am the god of wind or fire. Who went first anyhow? Either of them. So he went, and probably wind god went first. And then said, he went. And as soon as he approached that incognito, the person which cannot be recognized, then he said, who are you? With a great dignity, he said, who are you? And the wind god says, don't you know? I am wind god. Only what? What is wind god? King Birjamiti. What is your power then? You are God Devata. What is your power? Oh, I can just blow out everything. And similarly, Agni Devata, I can burn everything to ashes. Ashes. Then he said, oh, is it so? Okay. Hey, here is a blade of grass, this tiny. Burn it. Or blow it out. Oh, that says that they exercised all their power. but could not move or could not burn that simple piece of straw. And they, with humility, they being embarrassed, they came back to the God's assembly and said, I could not recognize, I could not recognize. Then Indra, everyone requested, Indra, you go. You are the God among gods, you are the Raja, king of us. So you go. And he went. And as soon as he approached, this others at least saw that some appearance is there. And this disappeared. And Indra, being more intuitive, more spiritual, so he sat for meditation. And then Kena Upanishad says, and there appeared Mother Durga, Umam Hoimavatim, Umam Hoimavatim. And Uma appeared, Mother Uma, and was very pleased and was trying to give blessings. Then the Indra said, Ma, before you give your blessings, please tell me, who is this guy whom none of our gods could recognize? And I was bewildered because disappeared from my vision. Who is? Well, you don't understand. He is the Brahman, by whose power you become Indra, you become wind god, they become fire god. If he is not there, you are meaningless, you have no power. That's why they failed. So they didn't recognize their identification with the Brahman. So this is the point. That's why the intelligent worship whom? The Supreme Being alone through all these deities. They are worshipping. So the people can worship any god or any goddess. That's why it is a Shiva Linga, or it is a image of Rama, Krishna, or anything. Because Brahman is everywhere. You can take any symbol or any expression of the divine. But if you think it is the power of Brahman, then you reach up to Brahman. And if you make an optimum limit that he can give me wealth only, so you are restricting the power of Mother Lakshmi only up to that. So that's why it is said that so men of intelligence, those who have enough knowledge and wisdom, they worship the Supreme Being alone through all the deities. 11th verse. The ultimate object of all worship is the generation of unswerving devotion to the Supreme Being. That Supreme Being in this text is Narayana. We call Krishna. So you can call any. It leads to liberation, the highest destiny of man. By association with holy men, devotion develops in an aspirant. What happens? By association with the holy men, how this devotion will grow in us? In the Bhagavat and in Ramakrishna Gospel, you can find, oh, I am not seeing the face of you. It is blocked. Sit in a way, you can sit in the left, go to the left, extreme left, change your seat. Yeah, there is no obstacle. Yeah. So, he says that by association with the holy men, devotion develops in an aspirant. Devotion which is within us, it will develop with the holy association, holy people, because they remind us of God. And Ramakrishna said, sadhu sangha, holy association. Go to an isolated place and do sadhu sangha, holy company. Who will not feel delighted in the account of the Lord's actions and excellences? listening to which spontaneously generates bhakti. That means, unless he is a very worldly person, any devoted person generates love for God. How? With the holy company. When you hear about that, when you see someone who is dedicated to God, our desire also increases. Association. It is called the glory of association. You associate with anything, your mind gets colored. Mind is like a liquid, water. You put it in a cup, it takes the shape of the cup. You put it in a saucer, it becomes flat like that. In a bowl, it becomes bowl. Water has no color, so it takes the shape of the content where you keep. Mind is like that. Mind you keep in God, it will be colored in God's color. That's why when we hear about God from a devotee, then it generates love for God. Those only Pandits, they talk, that does not generate because they have no love for God here, so it does not come out. So who will not feel delight in the accounts of the Lord's actions and excellences, listening to which spontaneously generate bhakti, the experience of which is considered equal to mukti. Bhakti itself is mukti, which is considered equal to attaining mukti. What is mukti? Mukti is nothing else than attaining to bhakti, which bestows illumination. What the bhakti and mukti gives? It gives you bhakti, means love. Love unites with your deity. You unite yourself with the Lord of the universe. That way you get identified there. So it gives illumination, knowledge, that destroys all blinding passions of the heart. And it consequently generates non-attachment and the joy of the spirit. So this bhakti itself is mukti. And bhakti in itself it gives us illumination. It removes our ignorance, destroys the blinding passions. What is our problem of not loving God? Because our lower desires are there, and that drags us. So that attention to the lower objects is destroyed. Bhakti destroys that. There is, that's why you call it is Ishvara Anurag. That tremendous anurag, the attachment to God, will destroy the worldly attachment. We have attachment, but this attachment to withdraw, we need to have the pure devotion to God. And consequently generates non-attachment, and as a result, joy of the spirit. Then we feel that we are established in joy. So Bhakto is established in joy. Jnani, he also is established in joy. Because he touches the ground of all, the Satchidananda, and being there, he feels totally covered with bliss, as it were. Now we'll read the verses from 13 to 25, where it is mentioned, a life lived without bhakti, without your bhakti, your devotion, is useless. For a bhakta, for meaningful living, A person lives a life but have no bhakti for God. So what is the life? Life is like a plant life, like a life of an animal. Is born, ate, survived, fought, and one day died. So this human life is a waste. But a life lived with God, with love, bhakti, that is useful. So it is useless to live a life without bhakti. That is the chapter, or you can division, these few verses are talking about. Saunaka said, 13th verse. After having heard these words of Sukadeva, noted for his learning and spiritual experience, what else did then Parikshit, the leader of Bharata dynasty, ask? So it is the question Saunaka is asking to the narrator. What happened? Sukadeva was responding to this after this response that without bhakti, it is meaningless. Why? Bhakti itself gives us mukti, it gives illumination, and it destroys, positively gives illumination, destroys the blinding passions of the heart, and generates attachment to the Lord, and one is established in joy and spirit, no? So this is being said. Then what else? Then Sukadeva said. So that is the question on the 13. 14 verse says, where pious men meet, there certainly will occur much talk about the Lord. It says, wherever holy people, pious people, they meet together, there certainly will occur much talk about Lord. As you go, 2 politicians, 5 politicians sit together, they talk about politics. Sports people, even 2 sports people sit together, they'll be talking about sport. Those people who are stock market people, when they sit, they will talk about stock market. Similarly, pious people, devoted people, when they sit together, they will talk about Lord. Ramakrishna in his say that he could not bear with the worldly talk. Then he's talking, you read the gospel, you go to Ramana Maharshi, how much time he's talking about worldly mundane thing. Whatever he's speaking, it is all Atman Brahman, this, you know. There is no end of these simple 2 words, Atman Brahman. People, who am I? Who am I? Who are you? Etc. So they say, we have heard once, we need. How many times we have to read this? But they love to talk about that. So intensely, they rejoice in that. So, wherever pious men meet, there, 14 verse, there certainly will occur much talk about the Lord. You ought to tell us of the talks that took place on that occasion, to us who are very desirous of hearing about it. So it is the question. Earnest seeker is questioning what Sukadeva then continued to talk about holy talks. 15. Indeed, that hero Parikshit, the grandson of Pandavas, is such a great devotee of the Lord that the worship of Krishna was his favorite play even in the days of his childhood. The devotees always do that, and from the childhood they play with Krishna, baby Krishna. In India, that is a common practice. Gopala, the widows, they start practicing Gopala as their own son, own child, and live with Gopala. There was one Gopala's mother of Gopala, with Ramakrishna's. No? And as for Sukha, who is the son of Vyasa, he is the most noted among the devotees of the Lord. When so many holy personages meet, and they are all meeting, the holy sages are assembled into that meeting. Just remember, when Maharaj Parikshit is in the Naimisharanya, and all the sages have accumulated, and then Sukadeva came in that meeting. So it is an association of the holy people. They will not like to hear about anything mundane, so that atmosphere is spiritually charged. When so many holy personages meet, surely there must have been much talk about the Lord. A man has really lived, 17th verse, a man has really lived only during those moments of his life that have been spent in the thought of the Lord. No? This is the point. That a person's right living is when? When he lives with God, when he hears about God, when he talks about God. That is the right living. Vain are the lives of the rest, their lifespan being merely food for time, capital time. Because clicking of the time eats away our life. So those who don't listen to God or God's holy word or speak about them or meditate upon them, their life is in vain, useless. Rather, though vain are the lives of the rest, their lifespan being merely food, because time eats away their life, to swallow through its jaws of sunrise and sunset. Sunrises yesterday, and whole day is gone talking, chattering about the world and mundane things of the world. Sunset, another clicking of the time automatically went. One day of life is gone. Tomorrow is gone. Another day, and one day, last day has come. I am on the verge of death. Then you say, what did you do? You ask, what did you do? What will you achieve? What did you do? You will achieve that. So you talk about stock market, you go to stock market now. Huh? You talk about whatever, your mind will be dwelling on that. It will go in that plane where stock markets are there. Good stock markets, people. That isn't necessary.
What if you didn't attain illumination on the path of Bhakti, but you develop love for God your whole life? What if you didn't attain that illumination, but you attained love for God?
Yeah. If the love for God is achieved, then God will pull you automatically. That is, they say. You need not have to come back. With that love will pull you into more and more in. Or if you are born, you will be born. Gita says, Atova yoginam kule bhavati dhimatam. You will be born as a very intelligent child in the family of a householder, where from the childhood days you will find the spiritual atmosphere. Our spiritual life starts when? Someone may be 20, someone may be 30, someone may be 50, someone may be 70. But a child, a baby born in a family whose ma is chanting the Vedic mantras, whose father is living a pious life and an auspicious situation, singing the glories of God, which we should get that environment. Much austerity is necessary because you have done so much. He is born in that environment. As a result, what happens? His old practices, they get more brighter and they get more steeped into childhood days onwards. They start meditating. Their mind does not go for world and worldliness because he has done so much sadhana and he has fallen in love with God. So that is the benefit of that. Do not the trees leave their lifespan? 18th verse. The plants, you plant a seed, it sprouts and they also live. Do not bellows take in and send out air. Do not animals, domestic and wild, eat and mate. Alas, what is human life worth? If it fulfills only these very same functions. God has given the great opportunity. A brain is given, eyes are given, can see some beauty, God's beauty. Ears are given to hear about glory of God. If one lives like these animals, what is human life worth if it fulfills only these same functions like the animals, domestic, wild, eat and mate. Ahar, nidra, bhayo, moithunam. These are the few characteristics of every creature in the world. In the human being, only something great if they have utilized it. Otherwise it is like leading a life of insensate life of the trees and plants and animals and beasts like that. That means The verse is saying very harsh words, but their life is not utilized for proper purpose. He into whose ears the Lord's name has not entered. Why not entered? It hit and went back. Many people, if you talk about God, 2 minutes they will be there. Third minute they will say, okay, you stay, I am going somewhere. There are people in the world. Is it not? And some people will be with the tears. What is the distinction? He has get absorbed in the Lord's pure thought. The mind has become purified. His same words entering into the eardrum of both. One feels aversion, another feels attraction. So, he into whose ears the Lord's name has not entered, it is not rebounding, but it has entered. He is a man in form, on shape and size, but in fact only an animal, a dog, a pig, a camel, an ass, or the like. But they are so disgusted. Their life is like that type of animal. A pig. Pig also lives. Yes. But yeah, pigs enjoyment, of course pigs enjoyment. And the ear into which the words dealing with the Lord's excellences have not entered is a mere cavity. Is a cavity, nothing more. He whose perverse tongue has never uttered the Lord's name and praises is verily as despicable as the tongue of a frog. Frog, whole night it makes a gang or the sound of the frog, no? Disturbing the peace of others. And whole night he is awake, he is doing big job. And saying, what a sonorous music. So this tongue, which does not talk about God, is like that. My God. This is the verse number 20. 20th. Bile, it is a beautiful jiva. 21. The head of a man, though bedecked with silk and turbans and diadems, is with all its adornments just a burden if it does not bow down before the Lord, head. And a hand that never serves Lord is verily a cadaverous limb in spite of the brilliant bracelets worn on it, no? The brilliant bracelets are all there, but it is like that. The eyes that are not accustomed to see the image of the Lord and the holy men are as purposeless as the eyes in the center of a peacock feather. Huh? In the peacock feather there is an eye. Yeah. So it is like that, this eye is like that. And the feet that never treaded the way to the holy centers of his worship are no better than those of trees that cannot move. The man is mere living corpse, is a dead body, who has never contacted the dust of the feet of the devotees, who have never take the dust of the devotees or the holy people, no? A breathing corpse is he who has never breathed the fragrance of the tulasi leaves. Tulasi is called holy, with which the Lord's feet have been worshipped. That means you never touched a holy tulasi leaf and don't offer it to the Lord, then it is your breathing. A breathing corpse is he who's never breathed, but there is a beautiful fragrance in the tulasi leaf. Now tulasi tea, people eat, drink, is very popular now, tulsi tree. It's a plant, tulsi plant, we offer it to the Lord. A man whose heart is unmoved, whose eyes shed no tears, and hairs stand not on end. When the Lord's name are uttered, he verily is possessed of a heart of stone. You are very good-hearted, but in the name of God, your hair, you don't get a thrill in your body. then you are like a stone. O beloved one, you who have been discoursing on matters dear to our hearts, may you be pleased to tell us what the great spiritual luminaries Sri Sukadeva replied to the king in answer to the question put to him. This is called Vyasadeva, no? Only to say, in simple sentence you could have said, what did the Sukadeva tell next? And he has said, this is the life. You have heard, certainly you have heard about God, the Holy Company. So that should inspire you. Did you get it? If it is not, life is meaningless. Now, this fourth chapter will start. We will start from the fourth chapter. Third chapter is given, dedicated to this purposeful living. Otherwise, what is the meaning of life? Eyes, what it is meaning if it does not see God? Ears, if it does not hear the Lord? Tongue, it does not have the prasad of the Lord, no? And it does not touch the feet of the Lord or the dust of the devotee's feet. What is the meaning of this life? So that is the way it describes the glory of this life. So we end here on the third chapter, 2 to 3. It is called 2 to 3. 2 to second book, the chapter 3 is completed that way. 1 to 25. Now we'll read next day the fourth chapter. That means 2, 4, 1. We'll start there. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ram Krishna Panamastu. So we'll see you in the next class at 7:30. But only we have some question.
So it's 2, 3, 24, right? 2, 3, 24.
In verses 24. 2, 3, 24. Book 2, 3 chapter, verse number 25. Ends, 25. Not 24. Oh, the question, does bhakti create samskara for next life? If you have bhakti in this life, will it continue in next life or will it be forgotten? No. If we practice, Gita suggests nothing goes in wrong. Whatever we do, it remains in our samskara. That's a tremendous practice if it is done, even if not this life. That force, samskara, will help us in the next life. And actually our samskaras has brought us here. We are talking about this Bhagavat, and whoever is listening, it is not that who is reading and what is reading, but it is the verses we are reading. So the interest of the people, where is come? Why not all, only a few people for this listening to this Bhagavat? It is their tendency. They love God, so who is speaking is not important. What is being spoken, what is in the content of the Bhagavat, they are interested. So, yes, bhakti creates samskaras. If we love God, anything we do that repeated, that creates everything creates samskara, but some becomes deeper when it is done repeatedly, once, twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times, no? Then it becomes a repeated thinking, makes a mark in the mind, and repeated samskaras then creates a nature of the person. And the nature is the character of the person. We say, oh, he is of that character. He is of a devotional character. Oh, he is of a very angry character. No? That means whatever is practiced, that retains in us. So, if you have bhakti in this life, yes, it will continue the next life or life. So it helps us to continue. So if you are a jnani, suppose you have whole life you have analyzed, you will be born with a tendency from the childhood, inquiry attitude. Yes. Swami Vivekananda, always inquiring, why this, why that, why that. Shiva nature. Shiva nature is the knowledge aspect more. And Ramakrishna, bhakti, bhakti, crying and weeping. But that does not mean Ramakrishna had no jnana. But I am saying the predominant aspect, as we find, is this. And one brings another together. Who has bhakti, that bhakti, true genuine bhakti, generates knowledge also. And generates bhakti is there, it makes you meditate on God more. If you love someone, naturally you will be thinking of him. That is the meditation. If you love someone, you will do karma for him. No? If you love someone, you want to feed him something, do something for him. You want to sacrifice yourself for something. So that is the benefit of the being. Whatever we do, that not only encourages that particular aspect of our life, bhakti, devotion, or knowledge, or karma, but it also brings all other aspects together. So it's sanskara, yes, we create our sanskara. That's why if we practice more and more, that's why that sanskara will be inherent and that will help. If not in this life, when one is born, he will be born in that yogi nang kule, in the family of the yogis, in the family of the bhaktas, in the family of the Vedanta student. I know one of my friend, he from the very early days is reading high Vedanta, because his father wanted to be a monk, Vedanta monk. But he could not, for some reason. In early days, people used to get married and things, no? They have no control. So, see that he got it from his father. When he was even 6, 7, 8 years, he's talking about what we did now, neti, viveka churamani, aparakshanabhuti, this, that he has finished by that time. So, so he became a embodiment of knowledge as it were. Whenever he speaks about Jnana, Vedanta. So that samskara has been carried out here. Bhakti characteristic also will be carried out there. And the parents also of that nature, parents also want that type of child, and child also want to be born in such a family. So both have a connection there. Okay, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. See you at 7:30 in our Shanti Gita class.